pay is so dumb right now that like it's heading towards the lockout. So
no progress.
No.
Like just nothing.
Honestly, nothing. We get like weekly emails from the PA side of things, and it's just so dumb.
Yeah.
Dumb.
The WNBA was finally winning. Sold out arenas, record ratings, a new superstar pulling the league into the spotlight like never before. And then, everything stopped. No free agency, no trades, no movement. Behind the scenes, a power struggle erupted between veteran leaders and the very players fueling the league's revival. Jealousy, ego, millions of dollars on the line. And one player finally said what everyone else was afraid to admit. This isn't just a labor dispute. This is a battle for the future of women's basketball. The WNBA is standing at the most important crossroads in its history, and what should have been the league's long-awaited golden age has instead turned into a full-scale internal crisis. For years, veteran leaders insisted that the league's growth was the result of their sacrifice, their grind, and their patience through empty arenas and limited TV coverage. But now, as negotiations collapse, free agency freezes, and fans grow restless, a very different story is emerging. One that raises uncomfortable questions about power, jealousy, and who really deserves credit for saving the league. This is not just a contract dispute. It is a battle over identity, control, and the future of women's basketball. And at the center of it all is a clash between an old guard determined to protect its legacy and a new generation of stars who are redefining what the WNBA can be. The conflict exploded into public view when the WNBA Players Association and league officials failed to reach a new collective bargaining agreement before the deadline. What followed was something the league had not seen in years: total paralysis. Free agency stopped, trades were banned, expansion teams were frozen in place. Players were left waiting, agents were left guessing, and fans were left wondering how a league riding unprecedented momentum could suddenly grind to a halt. The numbers behave. In the standoff tell part of the story, but not all of it. The Players Association entered negotiations demanding a 30% share of gross league revenue, along with a salary cap set at $10.5 million per team. That proposal would have pushed average player salaries close to $1 million, with top contracts reaching as high as $2.5 million. This was not a modest raise. It was a seismic shift, a demand that would fundamentally reshape the league's financial structure. The union justified the ask by pointing to what everyone could see with their own eyes. Television ratings had surged, arenas were selling out, merchandise sales were exploding. The WNBA, for the first time in its history, felt culturally relevant beyond niche sports circles. According to the union, if the league was finally making real money, players deserved their cut before expenses were deducted for travel, hotels, or expansion costs. League officials saw the math very differently. Their counterproposal flipped the entire structure. Instead of sharing gross revenue, the league insisted on deducting roughly 80% of revenue first to cover operating costs, travel, staffing, marketing, and future expansion. What remained would be considered net revenue, and from that smaller pool, players would receive 70%. The proposed salary cap under this model would start at just $5 million per team. The practical difference between the two models was enormous. Under a projected $350 million in league revenue, the union's plan would allocate approximately $105 million toward player salaries and benefits. Under the league's proposal, after deductions, the total player share would drop to around $49 million. This was no longer a disagreement over percentages. It was a referendum on how real the league's boom actually was and who should benefit first. As negotiations stalled, emails flew back and forth every week, but nothing moved. Each side accused the other of bad faith. The union banked on momentum, believing fans and media would pressure the league into conceding. The league remained cautious, arguing that paying out too much too soon could cripple long-term stability. The result was a total freeze that left everyone speaking different financial languages. January 9th arrived without an agreement. The collective bargaining agreement expired. By the next morning, the league entered a full moratorium. No signings, no trades, no expansion draft for Portland or Toronto. Agents' phones filled with unanswered messages. For the first time in years, the WNBA offseason went completely silent. Weekly emails from the Players Association became the only sign of life. Each message repeated the same theme: no progress, no updates, no timeline. For players caught in free agency limbo, the silence was suffocating. For fans expecting fireworks after the league's most exciting season in decades, it was bewildering. Sophie Cunningham was one of those players stuck in limbo, and unlike many others, she decided not to stay quiet. On her podcast, she called the situation exactly what she thought it was: dumb, not once, but repeatedly. She warned openly that the league was heading toward a lockout if nothing changed. When asked about progress, her answer was blunt: there was none. Her tone struck a nerve because it echoed what so many players and fans were already feeling. Endless emails, endless meetings, no solutions, no movement. Cunningham wasn't just venting frustration. She was mocking a process that had become detached from reality, while the league's biggest opportunity slipped away. Behind the scenes, frustration was boiling over. Veterans with guaranteed contracts watched teammates' futures hang in the balance. Young stars, who had just electrified the league, found their momentum stalled. Expansion teams that were supposed to usher in a bold new era sat idle. The sense that something special was being squandered was impossible to ignore. The anxiety reached a breaking point on January 17th when the moratorium became the new normal. No negotiations, no conversations, just waiting. Players were left unable to plan their lives. Teams were locked into rosters that no longer reflected reality. Fans began asking a question that once seemed unthinkable. Would the next season even happen? What made the freeze feel especially reckless was the timing. The WNBA wasn't struggling for relevance anymore. It was booming, and that boom had a name: Caitlin Clark. Clark didn't just enter the league. She transformed it. In her rookie season, average game viewership jumped to 1.32 million viewers, nearly triple the previous year's numbers. Merchandise sales surged by 236%. Fever jerseys became impossible to keep in stock. Arenas that once struggled to fill seats were suddenly packed with younger, louder crowds. At Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the atmosphere changed overnight. Fans under 30 flooded ticket lines. Opening month sales hit levels the league hadn't seen in more than 2 decades. And Clark wasn't alone. Lexi Hull, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell turned Indiana into the hottest ticket in the league. Home games sold out in minutes. Road games felt like home games as traveling fans followed the fever from city to city. The impact extended far beyond the arena. Social media exploded with highlights, debates, and viral moments. Networks scrambled to add more WNBA games to their schedules. Sponsors lined up eager to associate with a league that finally felt mainstream. For the first time, the narrative of limited growth simply didn't hold up anymore. But not everyone welcomed the shift. As the spotlight moved toward new stars, veteran voices began pushing back. Some questioned whether the surge was sustainable or merely a temporary obsession with one player. Comments suggesting that Clark hadn't proved anything yet became common. The implication was clear: the old guard wasn't ready to hand over control. That resistance didn't stop at words. Fans noticed patterns that felt intentional. Highlight reels that skipped Clark's biggest moments. Broadcasts that cut away from fever celebrations. Social media accounts slow to post record-breaking performances. On platforms like X and Reddit, comparisons went viral overnight. Fans accused the league of deliberately muting the very star driving its resurgence. On the court, tension was palpable. Big plays by Clark or her teammates were met with icy reactions from some veterans. Handshakes felt stiff. Post-game comments were clipped. The message was subtle but unmistakable. The newcomers were still on probation. Meanwhile, the Players Association, led largely by veterans, insisted that value came from years of sacrifice, not a single breakout season. As negotiations dragged on, the divide between the old guard and the new wave widened. This was no longer just about money. It was about ownership of the league's narrative and control of its future. Sophie Cunningham's podcast rant cut straight through that tension. She didn't mince words about veteran leadership clinging to power. She rejected the idea that endless emails and meetings would fix anything. She questioned whether the people leading the negotiations were out of touch and out of ideas. She also raised uncomfortable questions about conflicts of interest. Reports had already surfaced about veteran players with business ventures outside the WNBA, including involvement in rival leagues. Fans took notice. The backlash online was immediate. Calls for accountability grew louder. For many fans, this wasn't abstract labor politics. It was personal. New stars like Caitlin Clark had brought them into the league. They wanted that momentum protected, not stalled by internal politics. Cunningham's frustration became a rallying cry for fans and players who wanted progress instead of paralysis. As the weeks passed, frustration turned into action. Refund requests poured in. Hashtags demanding the season be saved trended for days. Some fans threatened to pull season ticket money altogether. Screenshots of refund confirmations flooded social feeds. In Indiana, ticket brokers reported a spike in refunds within 48 hours of the moratorium. Small businesses that depended on game night crowds began to worry. Bars, merch shops, and ride-share drivers all felt the ripple effects. Grassroots fan groups organized letter-writing campaigns and petitions. One fan club even rented a billboard outside league offices with a simple message: "Let them play." College campuses joined in. Students organized watch parties for Old Fever highlights and openly criticized the Players Association for risking the league's momentum. The backlash wasn't noise, it was a warning. For every week of silence, the league risked losing not just revenue, but trust. Then came the move that changed everything. Sophie Cunningham signed with Project B, a new global league backed by Silicon Valley money. The contract exceeded $2 million, more than 8 times the WNBA Supermax. It included equity stakes, giving players ownership and influence from day one. Cunningham had turned the offer down twice before. This time, the chaos at home made the decision easy. Project B wasn't alone. Unrivaled, another rival league, offered million-dollar salaries and ownership stakes. Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, both vice presidents on the Players Association Executive Committee, were co-founders. Stewart dismissed conflict of interest concerns while recruiting players openly. Collier called her dual role an advantage. Even the Players Association president joined Project B as a player and advisor weeks after the moratorium began. The message couldn't have been clearer. If the WNBA couldn't provide stability, players would find it elsewhere. With every signing, the balance of power shifted. Loyalty became negotiable. Legacy became secondary. Guaranteed money and ownership mattered more than tradition. For fans, the freeze no longer felt like a negotiation. It felt like a countdown. Right now, the WNBA's future hangs on decisions made by those clinging to old power structures. Fans see sold-out arenas and record ratings, yet free agency remains frozen. New stars are sidelined. The league stands at a moment that could define the next decade of women's basketball. This isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about who gets to shape the next era. The game cannot wait for ego to step aside. And as fans make their voices heard louder than ever, one question remains. Will the league listen? Or will this crisis deepen until the future slips away for good? Drop your thoughts below. The conversation isn't over.